All right. So as we were saying here, a couple of the top picks, 3 ADCs in my mind. AMC also has a little bit of mid potential, as well as Kronos and Freya. But I think AMC is usually played in mid. Kronos and Freya are usually played in the dual lane. Another top pick is Merlin, which we see first banned here out of the Night Owls. Not really surprising. He can definitely, if you really focus him, he can be easy to shut down because he doesn't have a ton of mobility. But at the end of the day, he's a very strong pick.
Yeah, with the right composition, Merlin can be devastating to face against if the Merlin player is definitely, if they're smart,
Hmm.
positioning and everything. But
Absolutely.
as we
Also,
discussed, now they'll be picking Arthur. First pick Arthur. Do you still think it's relevant? First pick Arthur now?
I think especially at the lower levels, first pick Arthur can be devastating. Again,
Hmm.
it's very similar to the Merlin aspect where if you focus Merlin, if you build a team comp around fighting the Merlin, you can really shut him down. That's similar with King Arthur. If you put a jungler and you really set that jungler to kind of camp the King Arthur and shut down his early game, he can become irrelevant. But if you're not going to do that, if he gets a level or 2 levels ahead, he has so much potential to rotate in those mid game fights and really make an impact.
Yeah, he can build tank and do a lot of damage. I recently had a game against him. He played jungle. We were doing fine. This was ranked, but later in the game we kind of got doved, and full tank we can't even kill him. So still dangerous pick Arthur. Uh,
Absolutely.
right
Absolutely.
now we see Naja and Bellona. I'm predicting this Naja to go to support. But what are your thoughts on Naja jungle?
I think Naja Jungle's definitely weaker than support, but I think both of them try and accomplish the same thing as we get to the mid and late game, and that's just find either the critical target that you want to pick and bring him up into the air to follow up with your mid, or
Mm-hmm.
find the target that's really terrorizing your team and bring him up into the air. For instance, if the King Arthur got way ahead, something that the Neja could do is bring the King Arthur up into the air and then let his team win the 4v4 on the ground, and then after the fact they could kill the King Arthur.
Interesting perspective. Now they locked in Artio. I think they feared that they might pick Artio against the King Arthur and try to
It's a
shut
great
him
point.
down that way.
It's a great point.
So,
Cardio with the cripple can be really, really devastating into King Arthur. A late game in turn. In lane, King Arthur still tends to have a little bit of pressure, but 3 out of King Arthur's 8 abilities are stopped from that cripple. So
and their pick also going into Raijin, taking out Artio completely. It's an
yeah,
advantage for them. But later into the game, I feel like Naja can like kind of pick Artio if she does not have Mage's Cloak, and she can be a vulnerable pick and make it to a 4v5
it's
for the Mia
possible.
awarded.
It's
Mm-hmm.
definitely possible. I think that as long as the RDO is positioning well and is building properly, it shouldn't really be an issue. Even if she doesn't have that Magi's cloak, just a Neja ult damage shouldn't be able to kill her. And once she comes onto the ground, as long as she pops her two, gets the damage reduction on the cripple. I feel like she should be able to survive. And granted, if Neja is using his ult on a target like RDO, then the carries should be able to free cast in the back line.
Yes, indeed. Right now we have you awarded, still have to pick their mid and ADC against into Arthur and Artio. Which squishies would you rather pick and try to be safe against while doing safe damage? What's the first two things that come to your mind? In mid, for example. For
Well,
me, it's Agni.
Agni is definitely a good pick. I think it depends on the route or which character you're more scared of. I think if you're more scared of King Arthur, you're going for somebody with an escape. Agni is a perfect example. Maybe something like Scylla has an escape as well. Scylla probably not going to get picked here, but just a mage with an escape. But if you're more worried about Ardio, obviously Ardio dives you, and she has the cripple just to start the fight there. So the better strategy there might be pick something like Zeus or another immobile mage who, instead of having mobility, just has a ton of damage. So instead of peeling himself or herself by running away, he like bunkers down, Zeus ults on top of himself, and potentially tries to turn the fight from that standpoint.
Incoming, the last few completed bans, we have Vulcan, Poseidon. Seems like much more of a target bans than your normal rank bans, which is, could be a respect ban, sign of.
Absolutely, yeah. 4
Yeah.
mages banned from
Yeah.
Night Owls. It's possible that these teams have scrimmed before, so they might have a little bit more information on what picks
Each
we're
other's
looking to
picks.
see. Right.
And they have banned Jorm for solo lane or even for support. That was
Right.
weird.
Definitely a good flex pick.
Yeah, really good bans so far. Even Humbats is not the most commonish ban, but in a team environment setting, if you play in a team, you know how devastating Humbats ult can be.
Absolutely.
And
If you have a mid laner to follow up on it, especially. The only thing that worries me about picking a Hun Bats is that they don't have or the real they have it, but the real key when picking a Hun Bats is what I meant to say is that you have to have other characters with CC. Because if you have just Hun Bats and that's your only major form of CC, then I think what you're really looking at is the enemy team is just going to flood themselves with Magi's Cloak, and you're just not going to be able to get off an effective Hun Bats ult because nobody else
yeah,
is burning that Magi's Cloak. But Artio is really effective at burning that. Raijin can be decently effective at taking advantage of a lack of Magi's Cloak with his ultimate, so I think Hun Bats could be a good pick here. That's why they're looking
coming
behind.
in, or we have awarded, they got a push for their mid laner. Again, into their team, I really love Aposh. Aposh was a really high priority pick last season Worlds, and they literally won off of Aposh. Do you just still think Aposh has that magic that that carried in Worlds in SPL like the finals?
I don't think so. We see it from a couple picks these days in SPL, but I'm not a big fan of it personally. It doesn't have the mobility that a lot of the mages these days have, and more importantly to me, it doesn't have the immediate follow-up damage off of something like a Neja ult. The ult is more damage over time. There's possibility to stack the corpses up, but then you don't get the one damage on the person landing. It's not as good follow up as something like Scylla 2 or Raw ult
Yeah,
or
the immediate
Broken
burst
ult.
potential straight up comes from the Naja ulting and Aposh underneath setting up for the corpse explosion.
Right.
And
With setup, it can obviously work, right? That
yeah,
does have a lot of potential, but I'm worried about we're going to get to the mid game team fights, and I'm worried about how the Arthur might be able to just stick to this hopwash.
yeah, I agree. This Aposh is gonna have a hard time, and so far, I like the pick of Naja in support. But the thing is, right, with Naja support, is there's so much you can do to peel your carry. In this instance,
Right.
against Artio and King Arthur. So compared to a traditional support, this is what's concerning me. Will they be able to save their carries and also do damage at the same time? Will
Right.
they?
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it depends on how aggressive the Nations are going to play, whether he's playing in their backline or he gets more focused on peel. Interesting Apollo pick here. He hasn't really been seen in the meta very recently, but I think he's an amazing split pusher, obviously because of his global ultimate, which I think at this level could be sort of a sleeper way to play the game because a lot of teams are not 100% sure how to deal with that type of thing.
Yeah, I guess we get right now. We'll go right into the game and see how these teams match up against each other.
Welcome back to the game. We have Night Owls versus. Oh God, we have you warded. That's the team name. I remember. Um, pretty typical stuff here. As we predicted, Naja is going to be going into the support role. Doesn't look like anything's super out of the ordinary here. So we'll
I don't know
see.
about the Apache build though. What do you think? He's starting off as tier 1 Chronos pendant, and I don't know if I agree with that. I like
Yeah,
Pen.
no, I sort of agree. I think you can. I don't think that's the play. I think you could go pen, but on Upwash, I think with how terrible his early game is, you might be just trying to play for the late game, and I think the play might
Yeah,
just
it's
be
sustain.
go tier 2 book. But that's just my opinion. Not 100% sure. But if he's more comfortable with it, that might be the most important thing. Arachne looks to be setting up webs here at blue. That's so
I don't know
two
about this
webs.
because because usually when you fight, when you have the support and solo laner in the solo lane, usually you want that blue experience just for yourselves.
Right,
Because
instead it looks like they're going to be
and
triple splitting the blue, which I'm not a
I
big
don't know.
fan of.
Yeah, I don't know if they will hit two off of this, and that might be a big risk factor when it comes to maybe even first blood being up
Oh,
because of that.
they don't even go for blue XP. They just let Arachne solo
Ooh,
it. So it looks like they
Arachne
might be
blinked
trying
in.
to.
Would they get the first blood here? Looks like so. Arachne gets
Yeah, looks
first
like it.
blood. The typical Arachne strat. You have to see it coming. Like, it's the most common Arachne.
That is a really good play by them though. So Arachne gets the speed and I think lets her solo the blue. Her spiders let her solo the blue, and that allows her to hit level 2 and be able to blink in and do a little bit of extra damage on the Raijin there. So great first blood.
500 gold. Your way of Arachne. You hate to see it. Early game character. Really devastating when she gets ahead early, and it's really hard to stop her. So how do you think Night Owl's proposed to just stop her steamrolling? Because right now it only gets worse from here.
Right. I think the key is really to just not take fights. A lot of Arachnes kind of have their downfall of they get a little bit overconfident with their steamroll, and they take some fights that they maybe shouldn't take. They're a little bit too aggressive, and I think if they're able to take advantage of that with maybe the Serket CC punish or the Raijin ult and the taunt under tower, something like that, they might be able to punish and slow her down.
Looking at solo lane, it's just the pillow fight over there. But the blue team is looking like they got a heavy beating against Naja and Bologna.
Yeah, it looks
As
like red
expected a
team will
little
be
bit.
securing the
Oh,
totem there. Both junglers over here on this side of the map. Serket might be in a tricky situation, but she jumps away. Now Ardia is up there. Manages to dash through. Good taunt for the peel on Serket.
they looked for a play there. Very ambitious, but without health and a little bit of mana just for two combos, really risky to go in. But thank God she got out, and
Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
both Serket and Ardia using their escapes, able to be pretty safe there. Still a 3v2 over here. I'm not sure why Arachne chose to
I
triple
think they're
split
calling
that
for the
wave.
speed imprint.
They might be. I wouldn't be surprised if they went to it, but I think they would have to full commit, all 3 members of the team go over there for it to happen. Looks like Neja is trying to get these back camps, which seems like a good idea, but I think that Serket was a little bit slow on backing and deciding what to build, and if she had been faster,
I think she might get caught here, actually.
Yeah.
Nah.
Good rotation by the Ardio with this root, and the Serket damage might be able to good punish. I was about to say Serket was a little bit late to her speed. If she had been on time to her speed, she would have caught the Naja there at the back camps, but because of the Ardio's rotation, they were able to catch him anyways. So great punish there.
It was completely greedy by Naja to go for those back camps without the presence of the solo laner to assist her this early at least.
Yeah, no help, no vision on the enemy jungler. It was very risky by him. But then again, just 1 kill. Looks like We Have You Warded is still about 700 gold in the lead.
Looking at their jungle, their red is spawning for We Have You Warded. And they're going for it. Your typical farming pattern, red to lane. And there might be a fight in middle lane. Let's see.
Looks like Serket jumps in on the Naja. Wow, good combo. But
really good.
Arachne's just able to take advantage of that. As we know, Raijin is very immobile in his ultimate, and I think he had his dash up, but because he chose to ult that, unable to escape there.
Yeah, both junglers claimed each other's mid laner's life, but at the end there, maybe they called Arachne to be more aggressive. Yeah.
The Upwatch was actually survived. Naja was the one to fall.
Interesting.
So 0-2 so far, but I mean, you're trading a support for a mid laner's life, so definitely advantage to We Have You Warded for sure.
Yeah.
Interesting start. We see the Golden Blade for Arachne. I feel like this is like Arachne is definitely more popular with it, but some Arachne players choose to do this, and some Arachne players don't. What do you think about it?
Personally, when I play Arachne, I really love Golden Blade in general, but I also see other people go for Hasted and Fatalis, which I don't agree with because the 3 already has the embedded slow. You just have to hit it. And if you do it early, in the early game where she's more prominent, it's really deadly. So, but if you were to miss it, it's a shame, really. But right now, Serket seems like she might get caught here if she's not careful. Patting through the jungle into the wave. Looks like she is safe. But I don't know
Yeah.
about this Naja being behind compared to the Artio. You know,
Yeah,
Artio does not have
completely
much
agree.
consequences, right? She doesn't have an ult per se. Compared to a Naja whose ult might be prominent to get a pick or two, right? Depending if she hits it. So what's your thoughts on that? Like, from being
No, I
behind
completely
compared to
agree. A Naja is obviously an assassin and support role, and just in general, those rely a lot more on being even or ahead than the typical support. Something like a Geb or an Artio can definitely do things from behind, but Naja from behind isn't dealing the damage that we're expecting from him, and before he hits level 5, he obviously still doesn't have his ult here.
Indeed.
Looks like he
Here's
come in looking to fight here. Arachne's here. I think she has Blink. Doesn't choose to use it. Yeah, doesn't look like a ton of follow-up. Looks like the minions actually body blocked her spiders there.
yeah, this
So it didn't
minions
get the
ate
stun
up
on Arachne.
the spiders.
Yeah.
Nothing going on in the dual lane. ADCs are just farming as usual.
Yeah, just some pretty typical boxing.
Right?
I think
Oh,
in
Nasha might be going down here, actually. See, there's a whole rotation coming in. Let's see
Yep,
if they
3v3
will
fight
be able
over
to.
here.
No, barely survives by inch of air. Will they be able to clean up? I think this RT is going down actually, with no mana and
Yeah,
health.
that was a
Good attempt by
really,
the
really
Sakat.
good. I think the God, man, I'm really bad with team names, I guess. I think the Night
It's fine.
Owls made a mistake there. I think they should have been able to clean up that Naja, but after that, we have Warded come in, and even though it was a 3v2, and they were on the 2 side of it, all of the blue team's cooldowns were down, so they definitely had the advantage in that fight, and they made it worth it.
Yeah. Nasha beautifully baited, juked a little bit here and there, which saved her life, so that's really good.
Interesting
And
rotation from the Outwash here. I'm surprised he may not have had mana for the ult, but I think if he had ulted there, he probably gets the kill. Very low and no mana from King Arthur.
looking at the map in general, it seems like this Apache is winning against this
We have a speed invade.
Raijin.
Looks like Raijin gets sashed. He's able to dash away, but they do lose the speed buff, unfortunately. That's good recognition from the Arachne that the Serket had to back after that fight and was able to take advantage of that. Naja has
Indeed.
finally hit level 5 here. Could
You need to be
potentially go
careful.
in and dive the tower. Serket jumps in. That's really questionable.
But it worked out. She baited out the ult, but Arachne is walking in. Oh,
Arachne
hit one
walks
more.
in and is able to get out. I think that was a
Both mage
misplay by
ults.
Raijin. I think if Raijin had used the taunt part of his ult and taunted Arachne back in so that she was taking tower shots after she had damaged her cat, I think we might have been able to see a kill there.
Yeah. I don't know about this Artio though. Like, I want this Artio to already start rotating to mid because
I
this
completely
mid
agree.
presence.
I completely agree.
She's overstaying in. Yeah, she's overstaying in solo lane. She's taking valuable farm from Arthur, who would do greatly from ahead. So she's better off trying to save this Raijin who's already having a hard time by looking at this tower, as you can see. And hopefully she soon rotates over.
Yeah, and you can see the level difference here. Obviously, in the solo lane, King Arthur's 2 levels down to Bologna, but Artio is a level up on this Naja. But again, the level 5 tick up for Artio doesn't matter nearly as much as it does for Naja, so I would almost say that they're on the same level right now.
Apache barely survives, but Apollo ults into the Raijin. Raijin goes down here. No one else. No comms. This is what happens. In a way, I feel like the main thing about these SLL games is to learn.
Right.
So the main thing that I'm seeing in this game is that they're not in the same page, if that makes sense. They're not talking. So since I have played in a team environment knowing this, if you're even in lane, if the opponent goes into the left jungle, you say it, you ping that direction, you be like, guys, for example, Raijin went to the left side of the jungle this way. You need to let your team know about these small things because in your mind, you keep a small mini map so you have an idea of where the enemy is compared to your team. So based on that information, you can look to make a play or back off or looking for an invade depending on the timer trackings they have already. So right now in this game, we have Warded. Doesn't look both teams in a way. They're not like really at the right place in a way. They're not talking to each other. Feels like
Comms definitely seem a little bit shaky, and that's to be expected. These guys have only had a week or two of practice in. So they're obviously not going to be at a super high level yet, but I completely agree. I mean, right there, Raijin dies because he goes in a little bit by himself, and then Apollo uses Global. Looks like we have a fight here on the right side. Raijin jumps in, and he ults. He should be using the taunt right here to get Bologna back into the fight. Luckily,
Nice.
Cirquet's able to grab him. With the ultimate, they're able to fill that out. It's good that they have a fight here, but it's unfortunate that it happens on the right side of the map, because now it looks like we have you warded are going to take advantage of this play and get the gold free here. Really good advantage taken by them.
Squishy, I think we have you. Night Owls did a mistake. They got 2 picks, right? That was really good.
Right.
But the whole team was there. They could have got that tower with the full wave. Why didn't they commit? They could have got 2 kills, a tower, only gold free would have lost. They kinda did a misplay in my eyes there. They could have gone for the tower.
I think it would have been a good idea to stay and get the tier 1 tower. But I think the same result still happens. They still remain 4K gold up. We have you warded, still remain 4K gold up because of how much gold that gold fury gives. So
Circuit realizes that Arachne and who else? The solo laner did the Pyromancer, which is the trait of Arachne. You can't leave her alone in the jungle. Playing against Arachne, she is really quoted in getting objectives alone by herself. And it was a bit of a late realization. Only Circuit realized and called it for her team, but it was obviously too late, and they had to pay the price for it by dying. And
yeah, a little bit too aggressive in the jungle. Looks like they went up around the fire giant instead of down towards the bottom of it, which resulted in King Arthur dying. He stayed alive a lot longer than I thought he would, though. So caused him to expend a couple more resources than they maybe wanted to.
Glad shield, right? Oof.
Right.
That item, dude. Now imagine with the new items, I don't know if you saw the new patches, mages being able to use their dashes twice. Assassins being able to have wall hacks. It's gonna be insane, dude. Like it's gonna change the game.
Some of the new items are definitely overtuned, in my personal opinion. But we'll have to see how they impact the game. Looks like Arachne's going in on Artio here, pushed up a little bit past. Yeah, I'm just not sure about that positioning. It does allow Cirquet and Arthur to go in on the Bologna, but a level 10 Bologna here is just not going to be as susceptible to a gank like that. And the Fed Arachne is just going to shred a lower level support, right? Because she doesn't even she has tier 2 Thebes, which is only health at this point. So the Arachne makes a good play by going in there, but Artio is just poorly positioned.
Yeah, Artio's positioning just cost them. Okay, Beads expelled by a Potion middle lane.
Right.
And nothing else go off of it. But I expected him to panic out like he did last time, but surprisingly, he had the patience to hold it. It was really good.
Good by him. Not a lot of kill potential on a Cirquet making a play like that. Cirquet's one of the most mobile gods in the game, so just being able to jump away, definitely an advantage there. Raijin gets a little bit of poke off onto Arachne, and again, Artio is positioned very, very aggressively here, just not on the same page as her team, and she gives up another death.
Artio going down in mid, but Night Owls were able to pick up a kill on the ADC, and now,
Absolutely.
And shut down for the Artio. They managed to pull that off.
Well, that was shut down for the Bologna, and it was on the. Wait, hold on. The shutdown was on Arachne.
Arachne, yeah.
Right. So, good play by the Cirquet to go over in the left lane, and get a kill there while there was getting killed in mid. You end up trading that out, and then the Arachne overstays a little bit and just allows the Raijin to get more damage off, and she ults a little bit late, and the tick damage from Raijin's 2 is able to shut down the Arachne, which is it's a really good thing and a long way going towards shutting down her early lead. And in fact, the fight after the fact in this upwards jungler right here towards their speed buff has allowed Cirquet to catch up. She was 2 levels down previously, but after Arachne got shut down and Cirquet was able to get that kill in the dual lane and the 2 kills over here by the XP camp, now she's caught up.
Yeah. Right there we saw Bologna being ahead, got a little cocky, trying to shut the Jingwei down because she was low. But at the end, she got comboed to death. also throwing away a little bit of her lead. Now Arthur also, who was previously 2 levels down, only a level down, can catch up super easily with these fights. I think we have rewarded. Should look for a major objective like the Fire Giant right now. I know they're ahead, but doing these plays, it can only last so long. Eventually, the enemy is gonna catch up and they're gonna overthrow you.
Well,
So
I don't know about that. I think that a 15-minute fire giant is a little bit overzealous. But that being said, I do agree to an extent. But I think once we get to the late game, I think you're really trying to look at the team comps here. Their late game carry, in my eyes, is definitely going to have to be this Opwash, and he just gets better as the late game. The later the game goes, the more damage the Opwash is doing. Looks like we have a solo kill over here in the duo lane.
the
And
AK.
Apollo is able to take out the Jingmei after taking that tier 1 tower, and now after that pick, and who's soloing or zoning in the
Banana
mid
will be
lane.
going down.
Bologna will be going down, but zoning 3 players in the mid lane allows them to pick up a valuable Oni Fury. So that's definitely a good play. This is where they could make the risky play of going to the Fire Giant if they allow these Oni waves to push up, and Night
Siege
Owls will
into
be
these
forced.
towers. Yeah.
Exactly. Night Owls will be forced to back and defend those Oni waves at the risk of losing tier 2 towers. That's when they might be able to make a play on the big objective. They do get the Pyromancer for free there. It looks like Night Owls doesn't have anything warded up there. A little bit of an issue because that's the same thing they did earlier, right? They went and got the Gold Fury, and then immediately after they went to the Pyromancer.
So now looking into the builds, they're looking to put pressure into solo lane here, and they're grouping around solo lane,
Yeah,
looking for a play.
four people over here. Surprisingly, the solo laner is the only one not over here in the solo lane.
Arachne has no mana, so I don't know how this fight will go. She has enough.
Naja
Okay.
hits a blind ult on You Can Dance. Opwatch follows up with his ult, but again, Circuit's mobility, she's just able to jump out, and they don't really get anything from that. They do have their ADC over here, so they might be able to get this tier 2 tower, but without the fire... Oh, that is an Oni wave. Great play by them. I didn't even realize that the Oni wave had already gotten there, but for them to go in on the Oni wave allows them to get 75% of that tower's health. So
yeah, along with the Push ult is the ultimate zoning ability in the game. It's one of the biggest ult. And here Apollo gets caught out. Will he be able to get out by ulting?
Or I think his ult might be down.
I think he is going. Oh, okay. Almost missed it.
Yeah, unfortunate. And Bologna jumped in trying to peel him here, but he's gonna take a fall for it as well. Looks like Naja comes in. Yeah, that's obviously he should just get out. Doesn't really have much of a chance here with the support.
I think Naja here also will bite dust. For we have
it's definitely possible.
Here.
Slow from King Arthur here, just doing a little bit of damage, but his team's definitely saw. Raijin dashes in next to an Arachne. That is a risky play. He gets his beads expended and his Aegis. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that play at all. It's possible that he didn't know the Arachne was there, but jumping in aggressively when you don't have any knowledge of where she is I don't know. Because at no point you're sacrificing your mid laner for the support is just not a good trade.
I don't think the aspect of sacrificing was the play here. The idea of killing this lone Naja with the whole team was right. But I think the Raijin's team, Night Owls, kind of failed him by not really CCing the target. Not so like Arachne even beats for the kill. It was too close for him. It was too close. Like Arachne does, of course, melee damage, and he jumped right into her. And there's so much he can do even after spending beads and Aegises. But still, like the team could have maybe CC'd in a proper order, order to peel out.
Yeah, it's possible
but still, it was a sticky situation, regardless.
Right. Possible that they used all their CC at once while her beads was active, and that's why they weren't able to shut her down.
Yeah.
That's one of the beauties of Arachne, though, is that she can dive, and then she just has this free ultimate, right, just to get out of any situation. Looks like the Apollo is currently ulting through the air.
Into
the King Arthur, it looks like, but the Bologna has decided to abandon that fight, so maybe a little bit of miscommunication. Or maybe Apollo just wanted the blue buff. Who knows?
Could be. Yeah. He did indeed get the blue buff. If not, he at least landed there.
And we have a
Everyone,
3-player grouping up on the left here. They might try and push for this tier 2 tower, but there's no minions, so I'm not sure what this positioning is for.
looks like they have a hard time sieging into these objectives. These tier 2s are literally
Right,
beating
they're
their.
trying to siege tier 2s, but they don't necessarily have the items for it, and they don't have Fire Giant yet, so it might be possible that it might be... Looks like they're just going for a fight here, actually. Naja misses the ult at max range, gets Jingwei's beads, though, but because Naja is exerting that pressure, they are able to get the tier 2 tower for free. They actually shredded that really, really fast with this Federacne.
Severe mixed comms from Night Owls. They should call in the Arthur to come and support this. These tier 2s at this time, at this 20-minute mark, cannot be afforded to go down without a fight.
I completely
And they're
agree.
literally having no pressure in their own tier 2s is really, it's not a really good sign. So right now Arthur should still rotate. He's still on solo lane. Right now his team is getting mashed. And Bellona escapes with a little shiver of health, and they still manage to get tier 2 mid.
Yeah, I mean,
Tower
right
as
now
well.
they're just playing so much more organized. We have you warded is because I mean, no matter how, no matter what the levels are, no matter where the builds are, at the end of the day, they have a grouping of 5 people, and in no scenario, either on the left tier 2 or in the mid tier 2, did Night Owls have a grouping of 5 people. It's not entirely King Arthur's fault. I agree with you; he should have rotated for sure, but. I think that in the left tier 2, there were only 3 people there. There was another in the jungle, and then in the mid tier 2, all 5 of We Have You Warded's players got there before Night Owls could position properly to react.
Yeah. What I mean there is, like, I know the Night Owls are kind of behind, but at the same time, only getting tier 1 for 2 tier 2s, that opens up the map, like, exponentially. It gives so much pressure to We Have You Warded. And it
Right,
just
and it's
gives
such a
more.
gold lead as well.
Yeah, and especially when they have a character called Apollo who has also global presence. Even Jingwei does to a certain extent. That's getting out of her base till the Phoenix line, but it's not as prominent as Apollo, who can like put pressure into like literally anywhere in the map, depending. So right now they're attempting the Gold Fury, the Primer Gold Fury, which gives you 7% mitigations. Now we can see Circuit exert into the Naja. Will Naja fall here? Yes, Naja bites the
Yeah,
dust,
Naja
and
the ult against tower, but Jingwei pushes in a little bit too far and makes a waste of her Aegis, in my opinion. I think she was dead anyways there. Apollo's looking to ult in mid here, probably. Oh, no. Looks like he's turning around. He's just flying right now. He's just enjoying himself,
he's chilling. He's up in the air. Right there in that moment when they were having a Gold Fury fight in the corner, they had a mid fight where Aposh spended all his relics, his Aegis at least, in the hopes of getting his ult, and he was surrounded with Raijin, and also I believe Arthur was there,
Right.
who almost the fight went positively to Night Owls, but in turn, since We Have You Warded were ahead, they were able to sustain that damage they were doing with the base protections generally that they have got going on. Not by so much, but itemization wise also, like even a little bit of power in mages, right? It hurts you. So compared to having the equivalent of less power or no power.
Right,
And
for sure.
looking into the builds, the both majors are going to a similar path of a style. So
Yeah,
what do you
almost
think of
exactly the
this
same.
Divine Rune on Raijin?
I think it's almost necessary. Bosch heals so much from his corpses. Apollo has lifesteal. Neja heals off his 2. Bellona has Berserker Shield. Arachne heals off her 1. Every single character on that team has healing. So a Divine Rune cannot. I think it's almost necessary in this case. I'm in fact surprised that Circuit hasn't gone a Brawlers.
Interesting. At the end of the day, Circuit, her ult is almost anti-healing, right?
Right, that's
Her
true.
ult is-
Circuit does have anti-heal built in. That's a very good point. I'm a little bit surprised by the shifter shield here from the Circuit, given that she doesn't have a ton of power to follow it up with. Looks like she's maybe trying to dive the back line, get her ult off, and then, get out as she goes below that 75% health threshold.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at the builds right now, we can see like Bellona has brawlers. So usually uncommon item to build in solo leaders. Usually you go hybrid builds, health items, or even auras. I don't really like this Brawler's on this Bellona, but what do you think?
I think it's a little bit too much damage. Well, hold on. We have a firefight here. Looks like they've
Fire
started
Giant's
the
being
Fire
attempted.
Giant. Bellona has gone into zone. She up downs, but then she backs right up. A little bit interesting. Apollo is ulted to zone. I think that, but that ult is hitting the Fire Giant. Blue team is able to steal it away and get a kill. Trades out their support for it, but they get 3 kills on top of stealing the Fire Giant away with Raijin ult. That is a massive play from Hexproof.
Massive turnaround for Night Owls, and the circuit ult actually spread to the Apollo after she ulted. And that also ends up claiming his life at the end. Apollo overstayed his welcome there. He shouldn't have been there at all. He should have booted as soon as his team hit the ground.
Completely
and right now,
agree.
huge turnaround for Night Owls. We saw they barely had a tier 1 for their own name. Now they'll be able to claim all of the towers, and look into extending their lead.
But they get the tier 1. I'm not sure what they can get off this, really. I think the key should just be to back, use the gold you just got from that team fight, and then come back. They're all pretty weak here, but they should definitely look to siege tier 2s here. Talking a little bit more about that Fire Giant fight, that was, I think, a real, like, you know, great play. That was a really good Circuit ult that spread to everybody. It was a really good Raijin ult to steal, but I think it was more a misplay by Bellona that really cost him that. Bellona is supposed to be outside of the Fire Giant, really focusing on zoning the enemy team. But, I mean, she walks out of the Fire Giant, she up downs and only stuns the Artio, and then she walks back in and just kind of looks at the enemy team. And they're really relying on the Opwash to secure, and so it only comes down to Opwash secure versus Raijin secure, and Raijin was able to come out on top.
For me, I saw a sense of hesitation in that Fire Giant fight. We have rewarded. We're like, yeah, guys, we are ahead. So try to beat them into the pit. But little did they know, they took long in deciding that Fire Giant was already half health because the Apollo was hitting it, and the Nasha was really staring at the opposition more than even trying to CC or go in or out. She was watching, and in turn, since the Fire Giant, he was taking the aggro, he took more than he bargained for. And
exactly.
I think we have underestimated the damage Artels could do, and right now we can see an engagement coming in from a Posh ult, and Artio goes down, and right now Najal also bites the dust almost. Apollo also goes down along with... Ooh. Damn.
Big fight there.
I lost my words, because they just wiped out a Fire Giant team.
Right, a lot was happening. I think it all stems from Artio taking a little bit of a aggressive pathing. Everybody chooses to come down around the left side and the inside side of the purple buff, and Artio chooses to dash through the upper side closer to the tier 2 tower, and she gets committed on. They use the Upwash ult, they use everything, and then while they're committing on the Artio, her team goes in to save her. The Circuit and the Soliner, the King Arthur, go in to save her. But while that's happening, Arachne makes a fantastic play, blinks past everybody committing on the Artio, and just 1v1s the carries. She's able to get a double kill in that fight, and it was just I think it was great play by Arachne, but a little bit of a misplay by the Artio and the rest of the team that you know, results in them losing their Fire Giant and get nothing. They get 2 tier 1 towers off of that, but they don't get any tier 2s, and they lose the Gold Fury. Just, you know, not good.
Yeah, they lost the Oni Fury, I think. Oni Fury their wave, a whole Fire Giant team down. I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I'm not a... No, it wasn't Oni Fury. You can see the Oni waves in the left lane. Looks like they do secure the Pyromancer here, though.
It looks like so. And that fight, when it could... Like, there's so many ways that fight could have been right, and it went wrong.
Yeah.
For Night Owls.
Yeah, we didn't... I think it really was the Arachne, because we didn't see the Raijin ult that fight. He wasn't able to, just because of how quickly Arachne killed him. We saw the Jingwei ult, and that ended up getting a kill, but I'm like, in that small corridor, a Raijin ult could have changed the fight for the better, and he didn't even get a chance to use it.
Yeah. So in that corner, that crevice, there's so many moments, even in ranked or your games, you see fights go wrong all the time over that corner. There's so much leverage point over that, depending on the team who has wards or overall general vision, and also the strengths and weaknesses for each god, right? So playing into the strengths, We Have You Warded had the Apostles, which is comparatively bigger than the Raijin, and completely like Arachne going into Raijin and stopping him completely to even ult. That was a huge advantage for We Have You Warded to win that fight in all overall. Right now, they seem like they're grouping up again for another attempt. Do you think they will throw it again? Or did they learn from their mistake?
I'm hoping that they will learn from their mistakes. Bologna is very close to full build now. Not to mention, Bologna has a frenzy, so their ability to shred this enhanced fire giant, and they have a primal fury. So I really do think that they should be able to just melt this. I mean, right now they should just start it. The Night Owls are not in a position to contest this at all.
The lack of vision is the reason that they're kind of hesitating, but at the same time, they can see the Atu walk in and not the rest of his team, but so I don't know why they're hesitating to go onto this.
Yeah, they are really hesitating. I think they think that the entire team is around this XP camp, but in reality, it's a 5v3. Looks like they might be. They do a little bit of poke to the RDO there, but not enough to commit into a fight.
They did have ward vision from both entrances for We Have You Warded, but still decided not to commit to this fire. Now they started out.
Right, they started now.
But right now, Right Owls are slowly getting into position.
Yeah, they're not doing this fast at all. Bologna's not making use of the frenzy here. She's just a little bit too far pushed up, takes about half her health, 25%, and so they get off of it here. Yeah, I mean, just seems like they're not communicating super well. Really, the Naja should be the one to either zone or, you know, get an ult off here that they can really capitalize on.
Yeah, I feel like they're being really...
Bologna ults in here, gets Jing Wei beads, but she's completely alone in the backline. Her players come in, Naja hits an ult, and Raijin ults after that, looks like a double kill here, and Raijin jumps in as well. Jingwei's able to get out on a sliver of health, and that's just, again, what I was just talking about is just a lack of communication. Bologna ults in completely by herself. And granted, it does end up in, you know, Naja does hit an ult and almost able to kill the Jingwei there, but Raijin hits an amazing ult right after that. So I'm not sure why the Bologna went in there. They made use of it what it was. They ended up getting one kill and they got Bologna or Jingwei beads, but just a really unnecessary engagement, not planned out.
The initiation was from Bologna was fine there. Right now, we have awarded. Yeah, they overstayed there. They shouldn't have been there at all. They just got super greedy for the wave. That was not the play. That much I can tell you. I think Night Owl should look to get the fire giant and look to start pushing these phoenixes.
Yeah, completely agree. The only thing that I can see that might be an issue here is the Apollo global ult. The question is really whether or not he's going to use it at a base and try and come in and steal this fire giant. It doesn't look like he will.
Let's see if We Have You Warded will get vengeance on the fire giant if Apollo decides to ult for the steal.
It doesn't.
And by the way, this is the better fire giant, the enhanced version. Fire giant, which gives you much more regeneration, and also it gives you 75% backdoor protections compared to the other one, which has 50, I believe.
I think it's 50%. I think it's 50% on enhanced, and it's none on regular fire giant. I'll make sure to check after this game.
Yeah, I think it's 75 on enhanced.
But regardless, it reduces some of the backdoor protections, makes it a good bit easier to siege.
Yes.
So they do need to get this tier 2 tower here. Arthur has to back to defend minions, but it looks like his Phoenix took care of that for him. So now
I don't think that's the play. Arthur shouldn't have been there at all. They should look to push the towers. They should look to push the towers.
And Jingwei takes really bad pathing here. Luckily, she doesn't get caught out fully by Arachne because she's able to dash away, but she took the pathing and Arachne was doing the speed, so luckily she was able to...
Jingwei took the path that Sir Cat should have pathed, and she ended up almost paying the price of going down, but at least they had just to back up and respect the damage of Arachne. Right now, they should group up all 5. This Arthur is still split pushing. There is no one solid 5v fight I have yet to see aside from the Fire Giant fight in the jungle.
Yeah,
they should just group up. They should just group up and look to take these towers.
They're close to grouping now, but Circuit's in the speed buff, and Upwash looks like he's backing. But yeah, they have the enhanced Fire Giant right now. They're just letting the timer run.
Yeah, I know you would love to get some mid cams, but it's 34 minutes in the game. You don't want to really waste any second of Fire Giant. There's some teams who are eager to use that fire giant and end up giving it up. But there are these like these type of teams who just take their own sweet time, but this will cost them the game eventually. The longer it goes, because the longer it goes, the death timers are obviously
Right.
higher, and one person going down can result in a steamroll of other players going down in the member, and eventually that leading to the end of the game. So they should not look to drag this out and use their opportunity to look and push with this fire giant. Like, they should group. I don't know what they're still doing.
Yeah, they're just playing really, really separate. I'm not 100% sure what their game plan is. Taking a look at the builds here, I find it really interesting that Apollo has chosen to go Kins and Crit. That's kind of the notion that those two, that item combination is just generally bad. What do you think?
I like crits and chins. I don't know, like, it still works good. Like, I like critting for 1,000 and killing opposition in 2 hits. Like, who wouldn't? But at the same
Right.
time, it's the consistency of the crits, right? This Deathbringer is not as valuable to Apollo compared to Jingwei. For example, Jingwei already has inbuilt
Looks like
crit.
Arachne might be caught out here. She's up in the second half of the lane.
And Circuit gets a good pick on the ADC, and slowly, Arachne is still behind the team. They should look into committing. Raijin prematurely ults in the hopes of catching Arachne, and that goes down on CD.
Able to ult out. Unfortunate that they weren't
They should
able to
keep chasing this. This is a really good fight. Okay, ooh, that was a smooth blink from both sides. I think Circuit might get caught out here, but if they can kill Bellona, that should be game here. Keep chasing.
And the ult spreads to Naja. Naja still has ult, I believe. He should just... Oh, no, he doesn't. He used it there. He just missed.
Yeah. They should push. Yeah, they should
definitely
Arthur
push.
just came from the middle lane. He didn't push the mid wave. This, oh my god, okay.
Yeah, he just wasn't in that fight.
Yeah, he wasn't in the fight either.
They still managed to win that. They get a pick on the Apollo. He's a little bit too far pushed up. They force Arachne out. They force Arachne blink. It's definitely a massive win for Night
Right now, the tanks should... Arthur should just go in. Just go in tank, yeah.
Like
there you go. Open up the fire giant.
He ults up Flash. See, I don't like that play, right? Because as soon as he ults, as soon as he goes up into the air, he's no longer tanking that Phoenix. And so what he did was he ulted the Upwash, and Upwash beads immediately, but that Phoenix is now targeting his Raijin. And Upwash is just able to turn around and kill the Raijin, and all 3 of the other players are forced into this awkward spot in between these 2 Phoenixes, and Arachne is able to just clean up.
Which, just not to be missed, his team was already low. The RTO was low, and also the jungler was already low health. I think it was just a misplay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's a lack of experience. I think it's just a lack of experience on how the Arthur ult works, and they just forgot it, or in a way. I like the siege attempt by the red team right now. They're going in. This is what they're supposed to do. I think they just can end up game off of this, really.
Yep, they should get the Phoenix here. Interesting that we are... oh, I don't know if they go for the end here. I'm not sure.
I think they go for the end. I think this is it. I think
Bellona uses the frenzy here. Yeah, looks like they are gonna end the game. They still had all... I totally forgot. They still had all their ults up, and Bellona still hadn't used the frenzy. So definitely a good end from them.
That was a ping pong of a game.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Fire Giant steal early in the game, but they weren't able to make good use of that. They lose a team fight over on the left-hand side of the map, and then they managed to win another fight over by the enhanced Fire Giant and take that, but again, they try and siege a Phoenix this time instead of a tier 2 tower, and it's not just because of the Arthur misplay. Everybody else was weak, so maybe they just should have backed off and healed. But they choose to go in, and Arthur needed to be the one to tank there, and he stops tanking, and because of that, after everybody's respawning right there, everybody's respawning, and so it was just it was they needed to be able to leave that siege at any moment in time, but them being forced by the Opwash ult to go into that little corridor there just had Arachne had a field day with these low health targets.
And at the end of the day, like, Arthur shouldn't have gone for taking a fight. I understand the concept of trying to kill them so they can end the game, but they were full health compared to the Arthur's team. Exactly. So it's really important that the important aspect there was to take the Phoenix and get out, because they wouldn't have been able to end anyway because the respawn timers were not favoring them. So they could have looked to back off, take another tower. That was the most deciding factor. There were many deciding factors, but each team, they the factors were usually in the middle of the map, so they can't really go in. And at least two or more people survived here and there, so they were able to hold on to a potential siege that could end the game. But after the game goes on, after like 30 minutes, right, deaths like that is really prominent, and its timer is so long. Like once your tank goes down, your carry is like complete. There's no one to protect them. So like running them down and just winning the game off of it. That's what happened. That's
Yeah.
how we have awarded one. And we will
Close game for sure. We'll take it to the next game's picks and bans, and we'll be right back with you shortly.
Yeah.
Welcome back. After a game 1 win against Night Owls, we have ended up in the second pick slot here. So these are picks and bans for game 2. Oh, wait, first pick slot?
Yeah.
My bad. My mistake. First pick slot. So it looks like Night Owls have chosen to go second pick. They may have a strategy here in mind. AMC first ban, which is the same first ban we saw to them last game. So may not just may not like to play against that particular pick. And same ban from Night Owls as well.
After that fiesta of a game, that I would say was they have banned similar bans like last time. Do you think that Night Owls is looking to pick up Arachne for themselves this time because she was kind of prominent in the early game? Do you think they're threatened by that?
I think at this level, something that they should be looking to do, as opposed to taking what the other team does, I think comfort picks are at a premium. So if the jungler on Night Owls can play Arachne well, it might be something they're looking to steal. But I really don't want them to force themselves into an Arachne pick just because it did well last game. Because I really don't think that was the win factor.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know, like the Naja for
Not
we
a big
have
fan.
awarded. Not a big fan. Not a lot of stashes. It's a hit and a miss, about 50%, I would say so. And the ult also. Really hesitant to use it, but it kind of gave them the victory towards the end. So
looks like they do choose to take the Arachne away here. From Cody, I believe, was the jungler.
And my guess is that they're not. Sorry, we have awarded might go for the Humbats because last game they had him banned, if you remember, in second stage.
Right.
So they might look to grab that Humbats real quick into their side.
Yeah, it's possible. They definitely do seem to value it since they banned it last time, and I think the Arachne can be really susceptible to heavy CC, like a Hunbat's ult, just because she has to not be being CC'd currently in order to ult out of that. So I think it could be really susceptible. It surprises me that Night Owls have chosen to go back into the King Arthur after its poor performance in game 1.
Poor performance and lack of presence, if you would ask me.
Yeah, I think that's less of a pick thing and more of a player thing, to be completely fair.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, King Arthur's a strong pick. What I'm really looking to see here in game 2 is for them to spend less time, the support to spend less time in the solo lane. Both solo laners, while they were similar levels to each other, they were both really under-leveled compared to the rest of the players in the game, and I think that's in part because the supports just spent so much time over there.
More so in Night Owls like lane because Atio last game stayed there for almost the entirety of the early game, which is not really the play. You just stay there for the pressure to get blue, then you look to rotate to mid, then also back to duo a little bit, keep moving around. You're basically a second jungler this split. In a way.
That early in the game for sure, and that's exactly what Naja was looking to do. Unfortunately, he fell twice early, but I agree with his path more than the already is. It looks like AK-47 has decided to pick back up the Apollo here after soloing the Jingwei in game 1.
And Night Owls look to pick up Athena to counter that global presence by the Apollo.
Oh, great point. Athena does have the global presence. I'm really looking for them to pick up a big damage follow up mid laner to like do damage off of this Athena. Something like a Ra or a Scylla or a Thoth or a Kukulkan, anything that can really follow up off of this Athena taunt, I think could be uh looking to make a game style
Yeah.
gameplay change in game 2 here.
Yeah, with Athena combo, it's a really good ban to ban, Poseidon per se. It's a really good combo in the sense of ultimates, as well as beads.
Yep.
Usually those are burned in 1 second if you see in Poseidon in lane.
Right.
And what I'm most happy about, and maybe biased too, the Zonkwae's team just wins. Because he is, what do kids call these days? Thick? Daddy? That's what. Bro, I play season 1 SLL. I carried with him, okay? He's Bay. So he's just gonna win. That's all I'm saying. Like, I'm biased, but
Zhonghui
it's
can
on.
definitely be a difficult guy to deal with if you don't know how to deal with him. He'll often end up going blink, one of the few mid laners that it's very regular to go blink on. And he'll just blink and he'll build a little bit more tanky than other mid laners, and people will be surprised when their normal amount of burst doesn't do as much damage. And so it takes a little bit of a different game plan to deal with something like that. But I think if Night Owls can adapt, it shouldn't be too difficult to deal with. I'm really interested in whether or not they're going to put it in the solo lane or the mid lane.
Yeah, same. I'm kind of concerned, like, where are you going to put the Zonkwae? Maybe they strategically picked Zonkwae for, I forgot who played solo. I think it was S9 who played solo.
Yep.
So he seems like the guy who would dive in, seeing that Bellona performance who just up, down, straight into them and
Yeah,
backing off.
for
So he
sure.
seems like a Zonkwae player, so it can go to him as well.
Yeah,
But
and the
it,
Opwash playstyle is almost the polar opposite of the Zhong Kui playstyle. Zhong is really looking to get in there and do damage, and Opwash just stays in the back line and throws out his damage.
Night Owls going for their comfort picks on the mid lane, getting their Raijin. I like that Raijin. Athena combo, Raijin combo, Raijin 2, right, into the 1. It still melts people. Like, it's really, what
We
you call
saw
it,
it do a lot of
stable
damage
damage.
to
Yeah, it's
the
really a lot.
Arachne early game. He managed to get the shutdown on her. And the Raijin ult definitely does have solid follow up into the Athena taunt. It's not the instant burst I was looking for, but I did like the way that he played the Raijin last game. I wish that he would use more of the other parts of the Raijin ult. The Raijin ult also has the ability to fear people and to taunt people back in, and I didn't see him use either of those features.
It looks like the Zonkwae is actually going to solo lane with a Vulcan in middle lane, and this Geb pick, and Naja is going jungle this time. What do you think of this Naja to jungle?
I like it. I really do like it. I think that the Arachne was, if he keeps similar positioning from last game that he played the Arachne, I think he'll be able to use the Naja ult a lot more than we saw the Naja support using it last game. And the last game I saw their support, the Naja support was playing way more passive than I wanted him to be while he has a Naja pick. But if he's playing a Geb, I'm 100% for him playing as passive as he did. So I think that these gods in particular fit their playstyles much better. My concern is their front line. I think the Zhang Kui build, because last game the Bellona's build was a little bit less tanky, a little bit more aggressive. If Zhang Kui decides to build that same level of aggressiveness and not as much tank, along with the Naja not having as much tank, and the Geb chooses to stay in the back line, I'm worried that their front line might just be susceptible to getting shredded.
I agree, completely agreed. And now we have Geb for support compared to the aggressive Naja he was going for last game. I think this Geb will be a prominent pick again into this Arachne because it's going to stop Arachne from steamrolling. And first thing, what's Geb good for? It's the cleanse and the shield.
Right.
And that's what Arachne hates the most, blocking her autos. She hates that. So maybe if Geb being in position to save their carries and in return turning on Arachne or making her expend her ult will be a huge win for team we have awarded. And let's get into this game and see how this goes without further ado.
And welcome back to game 2 of Night Owls versus We Have You Warded. This time the Night Owls is going to be on the right side of your spectator UI, and they're going to be the red team.
Yeah,
As you
and
can
we
see up
have
at
you
the top,
warded.
right, 1-0 towards We Have You Warded.
We have you warded switched around their support from last game. Last time they had Nasha, and right now they picked Gibbs for support. And
Right.
looking at the builds in general, do you see something odd? Mage is
Looks,
missing on Uller?
yeah. I think it definitely can work. But I think it's kind of a play style. There are Ullers who really chose to go more pen focused builds as opposed to attack speed focused builds. And I think that might be what he's looking for here. Now, granted, I think his clear will be just a little bit better because of this. His one will straight up do more damage to the wave. But we'll see how much pressure he tries to exert, because chances are, as the game goes later, he may lose the auto trade because of that lack of basic attack damage given to you by Hunter's Blessing.
Maybe he can turn into Paul, and become godlike and hit all his
Yeah.
abilities and just pop him. That works too.
Yeah, absolutely. He has chosen a lot more aggressive pick. Remember, he was on Jingwei last game, and he was the one getting pressured out. But with Uller, there's a lot of potential for him to bring the fight to the Apollo.
Yeah. Again, the supports decided to start in solo lane, typical 1v1 bash or 2v2 bash going on there. Right now, this time, we have awarded, since the ganked has Arachne in mid, you don't see that same style going for Night Owls. They are not really doing that with Arachne, more
Yeah.
passive, looking for buffs and farm.
It just goes speed to red. Or actually, I think it went speed to backs to mid to red, so not the same as what Neja did, but definitely not doing the other start. Remember the last game, the Arachne soloed the blue with her spiders, was able to get that early on level 2 gank, but choosing a little bit more passive playstyle, same build as before, and Arachne build is pretty standard in the first 1.5 items. So nothing to really look at there. Arachne looks to be aggressing a little bit, gets knocked up, gets sashed, and she beads, but it's late. If she had pre-beads that meatball from the Vulcan, she might have been able to get away there. But just looked like she wasn't on the same page as her Raijin, because she did not get any help from Raijin
there. We have you warded. I think even last game they got first blood. Don't at me.
No, they did.
Yeah. So
both teams. Looks like there's been enough boxing here in the dual lane that Uller hasn't gotten a chance to get his purple yet, and after that first blood, Naja is going to look to take advantage of that. Does end up getting the purple. Might get caught up by Arachne here. Depends on whether or not she can get the CC off.
I think she's
going
off.
Yes. He runs into the Uller. Yeah, just a little bit of a misplay. He might have actually been able to get out if he had run down the lane towards his Apollo. I'm not sure why he chose to turn around there, because Arachne wasn't level 3 yet. She didn't have her stun. She only had her 1 and her 3. So might have been a little bit of a misplay there. I do like him going for the purple after the first blood, though. I'm a fan of that play. He just overstayed a little bit.
Yeah, looking at map presence and just taking advantage of the map. And staying there, I did not like it, because compared to Uller has a stun and is much more lockdown potential with Arachne and Uller compared to Apollo and Nasha. And without mobility, he shouldn't have looked back. If he kept running, maybe he might have a chance. But at the end of the day, I think Uller would have cleaned him up regardless.
Yeah, it's possible that Uller just jumps in there and looks for the kill. Uller has a little bit of a lead after that kill. He misses the axe on Apollo, though, unfortunately. He might have gone in if he had hit that.
It's going the same pace as last game. First blood goes to We Have Rewarded, immediately drops it, and Cody gets a pick on to the Otta. Really good map presence and being in the location. See that happening.
It looks like he's now ulted the Arachne. Doesn't take a lot of damage. Obviously, we're not too far into the builds here, but it looks like he might steal that blue buff away because of the pressure they're exerting. So I
mean, the jungler is level 5 and the solo laner isn't. I see something wrong here. Can you pinpoint? Can you show me? Can you tell me what's wrong here? Usually it's the opposite.
Well, right? Neja was able to get that first blood over in the middle lane, and he dies at the purple buff, but he gets the purple buff XP, and then he comes over, and I didn't exactly see what happened. I didn't see the full fight, but King Arthur was the one that died, so it just seems to me that he was probably a little bit out of position and maybe took a fight that he shouldn't have.
Then solo lane is going aggressive. I don't know anything eventful gonna happen here. It's just
Supports
gonna
are
be
still over here 5 minutes into the game.
5 minutes is fine, I think. But more than that, after 8 minutes, if they don't rotate, I'm raging. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm really looking for the rotations to happen at the latest as soon as they hit level 5 here.
Yeah.
The Geb and the Athena. I mean, as soon as you hit level 5 on Athena, if you're not exerting that global pressure, what are you doing? It looks like there's a fight over here at the Gold Fury pit. Arachne tries to go on the Vulcan, but not able to lock him down right there. Uller gets a little bit of poke off, but just a net neutral, I think. Apollo ults, and again just seems to waste some mana getting back to lane because that fight had ended. A little bit unfortunate.
Have to press B and go back to base.
Yeah.
Wait, he
looks
didn't
like
even have mana
Arachne
pots.
is able to get that kill. Looks like Vulcan maybe overstayed a little bit in the mid lane. It was a 2v1 while Neja was getting his speed. So good for the Arachne to catch up a little bit. But Naja and his team still good 800 gold ahead. Looks like he's gonna try and steal the blue right now, but
I think that he hits the
Uller's
ground.
here,
Too
just
aggressive.
jumps in. Great rotation by the Uller. I don't hate the look right there. I think he knew Arachne was weak and had to go back and get her speed, and so he knew that he would only be fighting the Raijin there, which I think he might have been able to get off a cheeky steal, but a really good rotation from the Uller to just, really solidify that punish.
Yeah, in this type of environment, rotations like this is what makes the player better. So we need to encourage them. Like, you need to have comms and communications. That's the whole thing VC is for, right? Voice communication. And when your team is you can hear your team being desperate or kind of calling everything out. You need to take the hint and try to be the light there and try to save the day. So that's what Uller came and tried to clean up. Well, with that said, I don't know, like, Arachne without blink and still gets the kill on Vulcan. I don't know how I feel about that. Oh, yeah. I guess Apollo getting soloed. And he does.
Dude, Apollo gets soloed. So he is able to revenge solo kill. He got soloed last game, and that's what I was talking about. The Uller's obviously a lot more aggressive of a pick, and so he's able to make that come to fruition.
You know what, Squishy? If only Apollo had mana. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, he did. Weirdly, I wonder where that mana went. It's almost like he ulted back to lane and used all of his
something
mana.
like that, right?
Something like that.
Such a shame.
Something like that.
Looks like a collapse gonna happen in the middle lane.
Yeah. Vulcan gets slowed. He's able to ult on himself, which backs everybody up. Geb ults, but they might both be able to get out. I'm looking for Raijin to taunt him back in here, and he's just not
Apollo
using
ults
that
back into the back line.
Yeah, Apollo ults in. Just needs a couple more autos on Dark Dakuno, but it looks like Arachne ults out. Oh, what could peel by the Geb? That was so interesting. Arachne was getting...
Ooh, the ring toss connects him to two people there. They were already below half health threshold, and the ring toss just devastating at this stage of the game. Really good rotation and really good pathing by Cody to realize where the enemy was positioned and go around it and catch them off guard.
Yeah, it looks like he might have been in their jungle trying to steal farm and just ended up in a really valuable position there, able to clean up some of the weak targets. But what was really interesting to me there was that, Uller jumps in, axes to Geb, hits the combo. Yeah, I mean, Uller is just 4 levels ahead of a level 5 Geb there, so that's a pretty easy cleanup. A little bit of a bad pathing by the Geb.
And Geb should have just backed ASAP.
For sure, after that fight he was pretty weak, didn't have his ult up, should have definitely just left.
But the highlight of that play was the Geb save. Save this Apollo.
Yeah.
He just was like, nope.
For sure. The Arachne, the interesting thing was, I think that the Arachne dove a little bit too hard, right? And she was on the Vulcan and the Geb in the backline, but she was 1v2ing at that point because of the Apollo was fighting the other two. And so she was forced to ult out, and then it almost looked like she was ulting so that she could ult in on the Apollo then, and it just worked out perfectly. But the Geb, who was, I believe, rolling out to chase, it looks like Arachne got a little bit of damage off on the Naja, but it's ultimately a 3v1. so can't really take that fight. But the Geb was rolling out to chase the Arachne to try and get the kill, and he ends up getting the massive peel on his dual lane, and they come out 2 kills to none there because of the cleanup from Naja.
Yeah, that was really interesting to me, at least. Mostly because of the patience of Arachne. Right now, the ult being expended in solo lane by Zhongkui into Arthur, nothing is looking too damaging by
Naja
that.
misses in mid.
On
Athena dashes in, hits the taunt, gets Vulcan beads, but Naja responds with an ult of his own, and they're able to kill the Arachne. Interestingly enough, the Vulcan ult was a little bit too early there, I think. But he was still able to get it with the backfire.
the ring
Looks like
toss
Geb's
misses,
coming from
but
behind. He knocks the Raijin forward. He canceled his dash. Oh my god, what a great CC chain from Geb. He knocks the Raijin forward, and then just before the Raijin is able to dash away, he knocks him up with his 2, and then ults him, and they're able to get that kill. While all that is happening, we see yet another solo kill on the Ullr, or from the Ullr onto the Apollo. Just revenge from last game, really. I think if they're gonna win this game, Night Owls might have to try and win it through the Ullr.
yeah, just play around Ullr, make him the main target to play around, since he's fed. Look to take towers or even objectives, which is the Gold Fury right now.
Yep, absolutely.
Which is in a very good condition right now. Ullr is
neither team has really looked at it. We're seeing really, really good ward coverage on that side of the map, though, so I'm really happy with that. If nothing else, it looks like these coaches have instilled how to ward. Arachne 3 levels down, still looking to try and take that 1v1 against Falcon in mid. Leaves with about half her HP. Interestingly enough, her 2 teammates were right around the corner. It just wasn't really, a little bit off timing there, unfortunately.
Yeah, Arthur is getting smacked by this Zhongkui at solo lane.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is, he's a level down, but he has the tower damage. Oh, wait, no, I'm looking at the wrong side of the map. Forgive me, I'm looking at the wrong side of the map. That's my mistake. Zhongkui has the tower damage, obviously. But yeah, he's really getting... I thought it was super interesting. Yeah, Arachne chose to go on him here.
I don't
doing
think
a little bit of
Arachne
damage, but he's super tanky. Yeah, that's the problem with the Zhongkui here. He's already got Pythag's piece in. But they still get a 4-man rotation off, and they're still able to kill both of them. Naja's here trying to 1v4. Let's see how this goes for him. Good. Wow, good decision to ult out from him.
Yeah, it was not a good fight for the Zhongkui and the Geb to take. They should have backed off slowly, and it looks like almost another solo kill is going to happen in dual lane. But Vulcan backed. He was on his way to the lane, and they took a fight way out of his reach where his mid laner cannot make that rotation. So they should have looked to passively back off instead of passive-aggressively trying to fight that. Maybe they could have got out and
looks like others
while Vulcan making the rotation. Ooh, beads spent, but still goes down.
Yeah, he's able to axe the Naja and hit the 1-3 combo after that. So he's able to kill the Naja in the 2v1 gank. Wow, a lot of damage from Vulcan, almost able to get the kill there.
They're really trying to shut this Ullr down.
Yeah,
and they're failing at it.
That's the first time that they've done anything, right? That's really the first time that they've ganked him. And so they gank him. It doesn't go super successfully, despite the fact that Apollo has ult there. So I'm not sure why he, I feel like he could have been in the fight, if not for anything else, just to provide ult damage. Yeah. But yeah, they come around.
Invade happening.
Yeah, invade happening by the Arachne. Vulcan does 25% of her HP. Athena using the global pressure is gonna ult in here. Does a lot of damage. Vulcan pre-beads is the taunt. And Geb gets the ult off on the Arachne. She gets punished, and we have a 4v2 here. I wonder if they're gonna be able to get off the chase. You know what, though? Arachne steals the red buff, and that's really all that matters.
Right?
That's
the invade was successful. That's a mind game. That's how you put the opposition down.
Yep.
You mind game them, try to break their spirit. Actually, today, this morning, speaking of invades and stuff, we were winning. We were winning every single one fight in Joust specifically. So we were winning every single fight. We lose every single buff, all 3 buffs in the game somehow. That was so tilting. We're winning every single fight, but no, they're low health and they back off, right? And they come
Right.
back in and they somehow steals the damn buff. It's actually demoralizing. You just want to leave.
Absolutely.
Your spirit just dies. So you never know what's gonna happen on these invades.
Yeah, I mean,
Small
ultimately,
things
Arachne
matter.
does die there, but she gets the red buff, and not only that, she gets the red buff timer, so she can look to come around and try and make the same play again. Looks
Ooh.
like she gets ulted by the Neja in top right mids. Vulcan does have the follow-up this time, times the ult and the backfire correctly, just deleted off of the map.
Yeah, he got, you could say what the kids say these time, yeeted off the map.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Looks like they're gonna try and go for the Gold Fury here, but Night Owls are collapsing. Uller has a little bit of steal potential here with his arrow.
No, I think it's gonna go down, but we have voted.
Oh no, Raijin ult!
Actually
Oh, they
secures
don't manage to steal it. Very close
it.
though.
Very close, gets the kill, gets Gold Fury as well. Such a waste. There, when Najah stashed Uller, I don't know if there were comms were clear or not because he already ulted Arachne prior
That
to.
was the issue with that
Yeah.
Gold Fury fight. I mean, they do manage to get the Gold Fury. They only trade their support for it, so it's obviously a net positive. But I think Night Owls could have played that so much better. If they had chosen to aggress after that, we knew that Vulcan ult was down, and we knew that Neja ult was down after Arachne just got picked, and we knew that the Soul Eater wasn't there. And so there's a unique opportunity to go in and use your ultimates on them while they had their cooldown.
Yeah. I think it's just lack of communications being relayed there. No one. I think they just forgot that the Najah ult was spended, and Uller didn't really have to beats there. Then if he didn't beats there, he could have played much more, forward, and could have threatened the Gold Fury much heavily compared to what happened there and losing their. I mean, they kind of lost. Okay,
Definitely a little
Anasha
bit of a panic
Najah
phase.
ults from the other side of the jungle. Will they actually go down here? Ooh, connects right on time. And another attempt. Athena also looks like she's getting cornered here. I think she is gonna hit the ground.
Yeah,
And they might
Kev
attempt
knocks her
Pyro
over
after
there.
this.
She is able to dash away, but she'll die to one tower shot, so
Yeah.
she's definitely dead here. That's the combo we're looking for, man. I was talking about it the other game. Follow up is so important. And after the very first Neja ult of the game, Vulcan missed his ult just by a little bit. He mistimed it a little bit. But after that, we've seen two ults now, and he's timed them both perfectly, and they've gotten a kill off one of them, 2 kills off of the other one. So I love the improvement here that we see from game 1 to game 2.
It seemed like a desperate attempt from Night Owls to be on, we have it warded side of the jungle.
Yeah,
And it was
completely
not, it didn't
agree.
really pay off. And they kind of got punished for it. And putting them further behind.
Geb
Nasha
is
is
in a
2
really
levels ahead.
dangerous position here in between the tier 1 and tier 2 towers. Doesn't look
What's
like
with
he gets punished for it there.
what's with these teams going to each other's jungles?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Stay in your own jungle. Look at you have it warded jungle. Everything is almost up. Backcams. The other
Arachne's taking a fight against Apollo here. Apollo chooses to ult immediately, and that's just great. Oh, is he gonna ult back in? He's circling around in the air right now.
Yeah.
Gotta
I guess
love this Apollo. He only plays Apollo, and every single time he ults, he uses half of his mana bar. I'll never understand it.
Listen, you're playing SLL to have fun. Let the man have fun, okay?
Okay,
Fun
you're
to
not
roam around the air.
Yeah.
Alright? You can't just tell people how to play the game, right?
Yeah.
It's poor dude is just having fun. Let him be. He's getting smacked by this Uller too,
Yeah, Uller is 7-0, 3 levels up on the Apollo here. Now, okay, wait, I'm right on this one, right? Apollo has the tower damage. Uller doesn't have the tower damage. That's very interesting. He's 3 levels down, but he is the one who has the tier 1 tower down on the map.
Yeah.
Obviously Uller is up more than 500 gold, but that is.
They're looking to gank this Uller. It seems they're around this purple buff.
On this purple buff, Uller looks like he either has it warded or has a suspicion that they're here. Yeah, he definitely knows, but I would be. Nah, Geb is still here, so good of him to not try and jump in on the Apollo there.
Indeed. Right now,
go ahead.
Looks your normal farming, back and forth, not going on much. Another smacking happening in duo lane, but Apollo backs off knowing the pain from his past. And Arthur has yet to rotate this entire almost 20 minutes, so we
So
will
is
see that.
Zhonghui hasn't rotated
Yeah.
either. There was that one fight near the Fire Giant pit where they ended up getting both kills. But I don't think we can criticize him until we actually see full on team fights. I don't want to, because for the
Sorry
record,
for having
we didn't
pre-assumed.
see
Yeah.
we didn't see him rotate a lot last game. But he was fine during the laning phase. He kept up in levels with the Bellona all
We can
game.
see
Looks like they
Gant
did.
attempt.
Yeah, they ganked the Apollo finally. Apologies for missing that. But Apollo is just getting really, really focused here. He's gotten soloed by Ullr twice, and now the Arachne comes over and puts pressure on him. So
Yeah, I think this Geb is also gonna die, but he needs to just run.
Yeah, he shields the slow to cleanse it, and Arachne's doing a solid job of body blocking. Ullr jumps in, hits the.
Ooh, the team is collapsing onto.
He gets the beads out of him, but Vulcan follows up with the ult.
Nice focus by Arachne.
He's really diving. Does he choose to go in?
Ooh, unfortunate.
Ult! Oh, what a misplay. I don't hate the play there. I actually kind of like the play of trying to dive the Vulcan because you have two low targets there and Raijin's coming to follow up. But I don't know. Just missing the ult. Apollo ults in from base, gets taunted as soon as he hits the ground, which is good peel for the Ullr.
Ooh, nice turnaround ult by Naja there. He might die here, but
nah,
oh, he survives too.
He heals and he gets a shield from Geb. Great peel.
Great peel by Panda. This game,
I'm not even
Panda
sure if that was purposeful, to be honest with you. I think he might have been in a difficult spot and he just flicked his mouse and tried to ult away, and the Athena walked into him.
Yeah. And Ullr is going back into this 1v1 in dual lane.
Yeah,
Will he actually clean up this kill?
Oh my goodness. Apollo just takes so much damage. They're very similar in terms of builds right now. Apollo is choosing to go into the Odysseus's bow, fourth. And Ullr will likely go into the Executioner here. Who's teleporting to left tower? Zhonghui is teleporting to left tower. I guess that saves the tower. For a second, I thought Apollo had teleport. I was very confused.
Yep.
That's the first rotation we're seeing from Zhonghui. I wonder if they're going to try and make a Gold Fury attempt out of this.
Yeah, if you can hear a cat screaming, please ignore. And I don't know if you guys saw the latest craze in Twitter. I don't know, this lady, right? She puts the cat over her head.
Yep.
Throws it. So, ain't doing anything like that, I can tell you that much.
Geb pushes up and hits the ult, hits the 2, and Ullr just gets CC chained. Looks like Night Owls just weren't prepared at all for that Gold Fury. They're able to get it completely for free, and then after that, they're just running as a 5-man. They've taken 3 individual fights here. They've gone on the Ullr and CC chained him to death, they've gone on the Athena and CC chained her to death, and then Raijin just gets coming out walking towards his red, and he just doesn't have any hope in the world. Looks like the communication was a little bit lacking.
Yeah, they literally saw Zhonghui teleport to the duo side, and they should have expected him to be there before Arthur could ever be there. And what was surprising here is Zhonghui blinked into the tower to get the tower faster. Very nice thought process there. That was interesting.
Amazing play.
Yeah, they're winning, so it has to be something, right? So it's just it's just carrying.
Sick play. Looks like they're gonna go for Pyro here.
They're going for the Fire Giant.
Yeah.
They got the cojones to attempt Fire Giant, but I don't know
both carriers are back in base. The only person here has steal potential is Arachne, and it looks like 3 people are off the Fire Giant trying to attack her. And I think that's the smart decision. That's the smart decision, is to just back off, because without a team, you don't have any chance of really contesting that. I could have seen Athena ult there and try and get in.
It was just too late. And plus, since it's not the enhanced Fire Giant, it's just easy to melt. And they did the right thing. They didn't hesitate. They had one call to stick to fire, and they stuck to it. And the jungler was chasing around Arachne, the Nasha. And also Apollo, which shouldn't have been the case. Apollo single-handedly could have thrown there if Athena decided to ult and start a fight at fire. But since she didn't, the easy fire giant goes their way.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like We Have You Warded are just flat out more coordinated than Night Owls. They got the Gold Fury as a 5-man with no contest. They then got 3 kills as a 5-man with no contest, and they got Fire Giant. And there was a contest, and that's the thing that really gets me about well-made teams or like well-communicating teams, that you have a plan for people contesting the Fire Giant. The fact that 3 of them immediately get off the Fire Giant and go to fight the Arachne shows me that they're prepared for that sort of thing.
I mean, I don't know about you, but if I were a Zonkwe just walking from my team, like away from my team into the enemy team, I would definitely get smacked there. But they didn't even bother to touch Zonkwe, give him a free padding.
Yeah,
Good
at level 20.
Power.
Pretty
Arthur from the back end kind of gank and goes down here.
No, it looks like it's Athena. Vulcan ult does manage to kill her through the shell. Looks like they're able to sash the Raijin, but he does beads away. And Arthur looks like he was in here maybe to try and help peel the Vulcan away, but as a result, he's the one that ends up getting taken. Neja misses the ult, but they're still able to do some damage here to Arachne. She's forced to ult out. Raijin's forced to back up. Only Uller left, but they're just going to get this Phoenix regardless.
I think they're going to end the game here.
You think so?
Walk in. Yeah, I think so.
It's a little bit risky. Raijin does have ult here.
But I think they're gonna end.
Yeah, it looks like they're just gonna try and end the game. Titan at half HP. They're just focusing. Raijin should be using the fear portion of his ult, I think. But it doesn't really do much damage. To end the game. Yeah, and they're just gonna end the game.
Have you ordered? Just takes Night Owls for 2-0. Epic performance by We Have Rewarded. Panda really stood out to me from the supporting role, as well as even Cody hitting almost every single ult engagement.
Yep.
Yeah, he almost hit all of them. Really standout performance from We Have Rewarded. Positioning wise, excellent. Grouping wise, excellent. I feel like Night Owls can work with their solo laner much more because their ADC is looking really solid, and they need to play more around the ADC and have much more, improve much more communications with, solo lane. That's the only weakness I see from Night Owls. So hopefully they can improve on that. And along with it, on this Arachne, the performance on Night Owl's Arachne, it was not too bad compared to the last games where Cody had it. It was not horrible. She tried, but most of the times We Have Rewarded, since they were grouped up, she couldn't do those solo plays that Cody was doing last game. He was literally picking one by one, but You Can Dance didn't have that same luxury of having one opponent have a 1v1 chance. He was always collapsed on by this Geb, always being around, and getting combo to death. And another damage check to get in. Geb does a lot of damage. She's a really good amount of damage. I don't want to talk about someone in the solo lane on the other team, but it's very nice. Everything is looking solid. We Have Rewarded can just work on their comms. In their actual comms, like the god comms. And they'll be a really solid team, a team to be feared compared to Night Owls. Night Owls need to work a little bit on their communications, and they will go a long way. Their comms are looking good, but find their comfort fix. Feels like they just pick to alleviate the pressure. Like they picked Athena to get a little bit pressure off from Apollo, and they picked Arachne because they got stomped last game. They should have their solid picks where they're comfortable and able to carry it. Even if the Raijin was doing good and looked like a comfort pick, he was not performing or was not doing as well as expected or positioning wise. So they can all look to improve. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I really, really liked Fatalis Panda on the Geb as opposed to Naja. I think putting him on a more passive support really fits. And his setup, in addition to Cody's setup not missing at all, really allowed the Vulcan to shine because Vulcan didn't get pressured at all by the enemy team. He was able to hit top damage by just, hitting really easy abilities off of setup from his team. And that's really what you love to see. I wasn't super impressed with the Arachne. I think that it was okay, but like I was saying in Picks and Bans, I think that one of the reasons they picked it is to try and steal it from Cody or maybe one up Cody. And at this level, I think that you should almost never be just trying to do that. If you're picking a god just so you can do better than the enemy did on it, or so you can steal it from the enemy team, like, and you're maybe not the best on that god, I think it's too big of a risk to take at this level. I agree with you that you should really be looking more
Yeah.
for comfort picks.
Apollos is the classic case, you know? It's like you win lane, you lose game, but it's the opposite. You lose lane, you win game. That's what happened to Apollo.
That's the Zatman
And
strat. The Zatman
exactly,
strat
the
there.
mind games. And along with, you can dance. We're not giving credit too much to him, but I think he performed really good with Arachne. He got a couple of solo kills on Apollo. He got he got like the only kill Vulcan has. He's the one who got the kill on Vulcan in the middle lane. He didn't go for the aggressive blink strat. I don't think it would have been the best to go with anyway. But I think with the blink, maybe he could have looked for potential plays on Naja, because compared to him, Naja does not have escape, and maybe could have looked to get his lead ahead, like looking by getting kills. But
Right.
all in all, we have you awarded we're the better team, and
Yeah.
Night Owls hopefully will take away and learn from this game and experience, and look to come back stronger next time.
Yeah, definitely a close game. Looking forward to hopefully seeing these two teams face off again.
I think we will be back in a few minutes on with the second set for this stream. So be right back. Stay tuned. Soon.